I'm getting ready to do my nursing class. I'm not a nursing student, but I'm taking a nursing class because it's about violence in society. I want to go into advocacy and training around how domestic violence and sexual assault are handled. We have way too many first responders who are not trained to come interact in relationships, coming out and going, well, he looks calm now. Why don't you just stay out of his way for the rest of the day? Or handing the PFA paperwork to whoever's closer to them, even if the person closer is the one who's beating the victim. And making comments like, well, if he did assault you, I could take him away for 24 hours. But not doing it, even though they can see the bruise, because it's easier than saying, we can press charges if you won't. And the fact is, it doesn't matter, because taking him away for 24 hours just sends him back angry, right? So, we need to change all of it. I'm one of the few DV survivors who absolutely wants to work with the aggressors at some point. I want to work in training the responders. I do want to work in advocacy for the survivors also. But the thing is, as much as we need to help the survivors survive and with what comes next, we can't just say, you left, good, and here's 3 months in a shelter, if there's room. Or here's 3 nights in a hotel, good luck. Why didn't she leave? Well, it's been 6 months and I can't pay my bills, and my phone rings 20 times a day for credit cards. I didn't miss a payment once in 10 years, but now I have to miss my payments. And I can't even do a consolidation because until him and I have a actual agreement about support, I don't have an income number. So if I do a consolidation, it's fraud. That's why they don't leave, okay? Ask why he doesn't leave. He doesn't leave because he's getting everything he wants and then blaming her for his anger. I heard someone say once, they don't need anger management because they don't have anger issues. They're issues with her anger, with her feelings. If they didn't have control issues, they wouldn't need to control everybody. That's what it's about. Spoiled, overgrown, entitled little boys with instant gratification, insecurities, and control issues. Sorry, I segued. But anyway, I'm getting ready to do my homework. I'm listening to both my kids do their homework in the background because it is FI day number 7 billion. But I was just reading a post about how we've changed the language on things. It used to be civil rights, and it sounded good. We're giving rights to everybody civilly. Civilians deserve rights. Human rights. It should have just been human rights, honestly. It should have been the human rights movement. Because the civil rights movement sounded positive. We gave rights to everybody. Everybody had rights, and we enforced them. Honestly, everybody's born with these rights. It doesn't matter if you're American or not. It doesn't matter where you're born. We said every human's born with these rights, and if you come here, we will respect that. We will acknowledge it. The civil rights movement said, you're not doing what you said, and it expanded that. Now we call it DEI, which also, by the way, if you know what the letters mean, are not bad letters at all. Equality, inclusion. I just forgot what the D means all of a sudden. Oh, diversity. Diversity, equality, and inclusion. Again, brain surgery. I sometimes blank for a second. Are these things bad? Equality and inclusion and diversity? I know when I work on a project, I want other viewpoints because otherwise it's just me talking to myself, here. Okay, all that aside. DEI instead of civil rights, and then we made DEI bad. My big one is this whole idea that we're going to just rename the Department of Defense the Department of War. Look at that. And then all of a sudden we're going to go to war with Venezuela. Oh, it's not war. I'm sorry. We just need to take we being Trump, because all of the money went into a private bank account in Qatar for him that nobody else has access to. Billions of dollars. You're okay with that, right? Wow. How much of a mess is that? Anyway, we went from being about defense. We're going to protect ourselves and we're going to protect our allies. We're going to have peace. Well, peace was like a goal. to the Department of War, and what do we instantly do? Try to start wars. We're going to go to war with Greenland? Really? Listen, we have somebody with dementia who is being manipulated by a very smart man over in Russia who manages to be an autocrat in his country because he was smart and he didn't have, 250 years of precedent stopping him. The Civil War was a big one, and the Revolutionary War was a big one, but the Civil Rights Movement was a civil war also. And Roe vs. Wade was a very small civil war. And we've had these micro civil wars throughout history in which we have said, we are American and we are going to be more American. We are going to stand up and assert the Constitution and assert the human rights. That's why we have these things. And we're at a point where we put somebody with way too much money and power. And this is how it happened. The people with money bought the news stations. And then they bought the social media algorithms. And they bought Google search algorithms. And they put a whole bunch of money into making sure that a lot of people saw their point of view their way, slowly and manipulatively. So that, okay, the man I married used to be a tree-hugging hippie who wore Grateful Dead shirts and smoked pot every day. And the last discussion we had was about how Putin and Trump aren't that bad. And he can't back up anything he says. When asking for verified sources, he uses TMZ, and I saw it on a YouTube short one time. It was some guy saying that the DC police didn't care that they got fired on. It was some guy saying that Charlie Kirk, I don't even know who Charlie Kirk was, but he wasn't that bad. He said XY is biology. He has 3 trans children. And he doesn't know that XY is not biology yet, and that is actually not a pro-trans thing to say, but actually, that was the part that blew my mind. He's like, Charlie Kirk was pro-trans. He made this comment. And he said, XY is biology. No, it's not, actually. For weeks when we're first born, we're actually bi-potentially gendered, meaning every single person on the planet, they say we're all female. That's not true. We're not female conception. We're bi-potential conception. We could be either. This has been known science for a long time. There's a whole lot of people who are born with XXY, just X, XYY. There's these ones called super males, which, by the way, are super aggressive and more likely to be criminals. They're also usually tall and have acne. I thought it was hilarious because it reminds me very much of someone who was my next door neighbor for my whole life, who last time I saw him made a comment about how he used to, while dating me, steal cigarettes from the 7-Eleven I worked for when I was on shift, because 25 years later, he still thinks being a bully is funny. And, I knew what he was doing at the time, by the way. He forgets. So, we were dating, and he was giving me the cigarettes, too. Not that I actually was like, oh, it's okay, go ahead and take them. But, he did always have a pack of cigarettes to share with me. I quit smoking a long time ago. I also quit dating super males a long time ago. Anyway, I just think it's hilarious. He did grow up to be handsome, though. It's a shame that he didn't grow up to be, kind. Also, I knew who he was behind closed doors, and he was kind. Just saying. We use wording that's very targeted towards a belief pattern that we want people to follow. So when the horrible, tyrannical dictators are like, you could go to jail for using the word Gestapo, that's because they know the Gestapo is evoking something in you that's real. But let's be clear here. We have rights in this country, and one is freedom of speech. You cannot go to jail for using a word, no matter what the word is. You can't get libel charges for using a word. You have to do actual harm. You need to know your rights. Because, unfortunately, what's going to happen is at some point you're going to be able to get shot for it. We're already seeing that in Minnesota, which is scary. Because people are saying, oh, we should have just gone home. No, this is America. We don't have to just go home. And if you're saying that, you're not a patriot. I'm a patriot. I'm not a Trump-sucking, on my knees, sycophant of the system, but I'm a patriot. I believe America and what it was founded on. All right, it's almost 10 minutes. Have a good day, YouTube.